Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I am your host, the Football Grump, and with me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan. It is our second ever playoff episode, and we get to take on our most hated rival, the Eagles.
Yeah, and you can see what I'm wearing today. I'm wearing my special hat. This is an old school hat from the 70s. I think I've only worn it in my head like 10 or 11 times. I only break it out for very serious events. I only break it out for key divisional games in December, games that get us into the playoffs, in the playoffs, Super Bowls, that type of thing. So I got the Sims jersey on. I got the special hat. This means business. And we are, this is what it's all about, Grump. This is why we, go to training camp. This is why we do draft previews. This is why we're fans. It's, we suffered through for moments like this where we're in the playoffs and we're playing our most hated rival, and bigger and better is possible. So enjoy it, because this is awesome.
So every article of clothing that I'm wearing is Giants stuff. Got my Giants sweatshirt on, hat, sweatpants. In the background you can see Giants jacket. I have eaten chicken wings for dinner every single night this week because we're hunting birds this week. So
well, here's some birds for you.
There you go. There's all the birds you need. I got this comment, I want to say like maybe 3 weeks back, from someone at the gym, just because I was wearing just like all Giants gear. Was just kind of looked at me and just like, well, if they lose, you at least did your part. Every day you're in this shit. And that's just kind of how I am right now. I'm wrapped up in the fervor for this postseason, this run. This is awesome. This is amazing. It's funny looking back on earlier stuff this year, because there was like the early season excitement as we did the big changeover, front office changeover, a whole new approach to the draft, new head coach. You get new, assistant coach, hirings and firings. And then, with that comes a big roster changeover and all these decisions and stuff. And look back, and there was a lot of excitement too, and then there was a lot of downtrodden stuff. So we were wrong about a ton of stuff, but also excited about a lot of funny stuff. And I remember early on saying that, if we go into a playoff run, I'm going to shave my head and grow my beard and do the Dable thing. And lo and behold, that actually happened. It's just funny looking back on all that stuff. I was remembering earlier at training camp. You were with me, so if you remember, Justin Pennick was just, every time the offense did something that wasn't an absolute disaster, which wasn't that much. It was like maybe 7 times that practice.
Right.
He would shout out that the Giants are back. And Here we are. We're in a divisional round playing against the number 1 seed in the NFC. I think technically the best team in the NFL by record, right?
Yeah, I think you said something like, we were talking about the Super Bowl last year, and this wasn't on the show, it was just me and you. And I said something about Cincinnati, and you said, well, why not us? And I'm like, because we suck, and this is a rebuild, and we're not even close to even joking about things like that. So the first fart I'll give for the night is to me for having no faith.
I think I mentioned on this show, not like some 8 weeks back, saying like, this team's not going to the Super Bowl, like very, very succinctly and very definitely. And here we are, 2 games away from playing in a Super Bowl.
Before we start our breakdown of the game and our thoughts and predictions and everything, you mentioned, it's a realistic possibility that this team, can beat Philly. It's a realistic possibility that this team could beat the winner of San Francisco or Dallas and get into the Super Bowl. How are you trying to keep yourself grounded for all this? Because a lot of Giant fans in the course of 12 months have gone from, have the NFL take over ownership of this team and burn down the stadium, to expecting to beat Philly and, thinking Daniel Jones now is worth $40 and $50 million a year and is the best quarterback left in the playoffs and all these crazy things. So how are you keeping yourself grounded? And do you think that the fan base taking a temperature check is a little, I know we're all very, very excited, and we all are allowed to be very excited, but you think they're a little over their skis a little bit in expectations for what's going to happen Saturday and going forward?
So for me, I am wrapped up in this postseason. So, um, my I want this game. I want this one bad. So I am I'm expecting them to come at their best. We'll get into our predictions for the game, whatever. But I'm not uber confident. I'm not making any definitive. I mean, staying grounded is easy because everything, like I just said, like I very easily said a couple weeks ago, like this team's not going to the Super Bowl. Everything is house money with this team right now. It just is. So it doesn't take much for me to really bring that back to that.
Right.
That said, so that speaks more to confidence, and like my expectations is really that I just want them to go out there and not shit the bed. That's what I expect. I expect them to come out firing, competitive, and bring the metal to them. Staying grounded as far as that, it's pretty easy because all I have to do is my regular work for this show, which is listen to the opposition. And they have so much to be excited about right now. They're super duper healthy. They're healthier now than they were the first time we played them. With the exception that we don't 100% know Jalen Hurts' ability. I think I'm not alone in thinking that they're kind of playing up his injury a lot more than it really is. I think it's strained. I don't think it's anything that would prevent him from throwing for 400 yards against a bad defense, though. So they have a lot to be excited about. So all you have to do is read one article by an Eagles beat writer, and you're like, oh, shit, this is they have a lot to be confident about. So it's pretty easy to stay grounded, in my opinion. I don't know.
Especially this is their first playoff game too. They were off last week, so this fan base has been, chomping at the bit for 2 weeks and see their team play.
I will say though, it's still difficult to stay grounded because, and I'm not going to sit here and tout the Giants beat like they're fantastic journalists or anything like that, but Eagles journalists are generally pretty bad, and their podcasting. I have one that I generally really like that I tried. I had to shut off because it was so factually inaccurate. They were coming in there. There were like 7 or 8 mistakes. I was like, Jesus Christ! Like we played this team twice. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about against like a division rival. I had to shut it off at the point where they said, "Well, the facts are the facts. These teams met at full strength and the Eagles decimated them." I was like, well, that is just simply not true. In fact, that's probably the biggest talking point we can really glean is that these teams have not played at full strength yet at all.
Right.
I mean, so this is, I would say, is it weird to say that this is the first time ever there's a third matchup between teams in 1 year, but it's really going to be kind of the first time that they're playing at full strength. Our first matchup, we were missing McKinney, Jackson, Williams. That's if you were to name who are our 5 best players on defense.
I would say right up there with Lawrence and those guys.
And maybe Thibodeau, I guess, would be the 5th.
Right.
Yeah, so it's 3 out of 5 of our best players were not playing in that game. And then the second matchup, obviously, we were playing Davis Webb and the second and third stringers, and they were playing a really vanilla offense because they had a lot to hide for film.
A quarterback who was just kicking the rust off too.
Yeah, also, and they weren't going to have him run wild. He was sliding and stuff. So this is really the first time these teams are meeting.
And they also knew that there was a potential that they would play us again. So why, drop your fly and show yourself, because you may see them again in a couple of weeks for a meaningless game.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they're scared. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I think that's probably the most interesting thing about this is that I knew about the injuries, right? But I tried to go back and really look at that game, and you really can't even glean anything from that first game. You can, but it's really difficult. At the time, the Giants were still doing that heavy run with Saquon Barkley between the tackles and then run play action off of it style offense that they have in recent weeks. And I would almost say based on the second half of that game, maybe it stemmed from that. They haven't really run that system since then. They have switched to that throw it to Barkley out in the flat early and, run a lot of Daniel Jones out and rollouts and, manipulating the pocket, that
Mhm.
kind of thing, and crossing routes and all that kind of shit, emphasizing the pass first and run second. That's been their more recent offense. So the offense was completely different. And it was also at the time, that was when Saquon was kind of wearing down.
Well, and let's face it too. I mean, that game, some football games just snowball out of control so quickly
Well, yeah, that's the
that
other thing.
it doesn't matter what your game plan is, or it's or if you what kind of adjustments you make when we got hit with a right left cross to the face in that game, and we never recovered from it. And that that's how games got out of control. And this Philly team is very good. It's very potent, on both sides of the ball. And then once you get that thing going, we weren't catching up in that game. So
Well, yeah, that's it. You're entirely right. I mean, you had in there a first drive that was bad. I mean, they really picked apart the defense. There's no defending that other than you're missing 3 out of your 5 stars. The second drive, I think they actually had them stopped on a 4th and 8, and they let them convert. And a direct result of the McKinney injury, you had Julian Love go over the top and try to play the interception instead of playing the ball in the pass breakup. Would have actually ended that, converted to a touchdown, and then after that, you had the dropped punt by Jamie Gillen, where he just
right.
kind of like skip kicked it. That was a penalty that gave that. There was a one-shot play to AJ Brown at that point.
And then the snowball is rolling down the hill.
Yeah, now you're at 21-0. I mean, now you really can't. You can't look back at that game and be like, well, that was a fair. I mean, not that it was an unfair matchup, but it's not really. If you don't get off to that same start of stupid ass mistakes, and really, I don't think I've seen a Giants punter ever, other than Matt Dodge, do something like that.
Oh, Sean Landette in the '86 playoff game where he missed the snap,
True.
and he just missed it. And that's the worst punt in Giants history.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like the kind of mistake like a turnover, that happens potentially once per game. That's like a silliness,
Yeah.
football follies kind of
And
play.
this Eagles offense hasn't really been as good as it had been in that first half of the Giant game since, due to injuries and other factors.
So, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest story going into this is that the Giants appear fully healthy, just about. Only a couple guys on the injury list. Ojolari is the only one that looks like he might be on a pitch count. It looks like his ability to play will be dictated, I think, by just like a pain tolerance.
Yeah. And something, even if he only plays 25% of the snaps, the way Wink kind of, uses his defense and uses these guys, that's not the worst thing in the world. Strategic targeted plays for him. And, I'd rather have 13 plays that really mean something than 50 or 60 if he gets worn down and is ineffective.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, we can. Sorry, I'll let you finish just 2 seconds. But to further your point there, we can bitch about Ojolari's frailness or whatever, but that's a separate conversation. The meat and potatoes of that is he is a statistical leader on this team, on the leaderboard, and I don't think he's really played a full game, I mean, he's never really a high snap count guy. So you're totally right. Like, even if he only gets something like 20 snaps in this game, they might be 20 meaningful stat-filled snaps. So I mean, five and a half sacks or something like that. He hasn't really played that much.
This might be a game that, you can clip this for later, if I'm right or not, but like, it might just take 1 or 2 quarterback pressures and/or sacks and/or strip fumbles that changes this game. And if he's on the field for one of those and he's causing that, I don't care if he's on the field for 80% of the other ones. It's that one play in that one strategic moment.
You're 100% right. I mean, I think that almost be par for the course for any playoff game. But
Sure.
yeah, I would say especially this one. Some interesting notes. Fabian Moreau was on the injury report, and as it turns out, he was banged up at the very end of the last game. He was the reason Cordell Flott was on the field for the pass breakup he had on 3rd down that led to the 4th down there, which I thought that's pretty interesting. Have you been impressed with Cordell Flott?
What's that?
Have you been impressed with Flott?
I mean, I I think we actually got more out of him than I expected this year. I thought he was a developmental pick that, they put him in for some snaps. And I also thought, again, this season turned out a lot different than I thought it would. I thought he'd be playing more because, this season is over and they wanted to get some reps in for him. But when these games got too important, there maybe not is chance for opportunities for him just because of the youthful and rawness of him. But, I think he's a guy that, I see another off season with him, another, learning this defense some more and getting more reps and getting, potentially better. A rotational guy for sure.
What I thought was interesting was more so in the second matchup, he got a lot of playing time because he is a second teamer.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked, because of his nature of play, and I don't know if this was a Wink Martindale mouth in the ear draft pick or if this is just the way Joe Shane likes his corners or whatever, but he is a very physical, hands-on corner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that lends itself well to man press coverage that Wink can run and run his whatever cover 1, cover 0 blitzes and shit. But that really helped on AJ Brown. I mean, that shut him the fuck down.
Yeah. And I think also the more experience and the more confidence he has, he can play more of that press coverage and be, not being, and the coaches will have more confidence in him as well.
Sure. Yeah. Other interesting note on injuries. I think we all thought it was kind of weird that like a cart came out for Pinnock. And he's kind of getting a shot to the gut there. And then I think he was released from a hospital later that night.
Mm-hmm.
He actually bruised his small intestine.
Oof.
And I think the hospital had to do with, I assume that this had to do, it had something to do with his ability to fly. So I guess like pressurized cabin of the flight might, I don't know, rupture something potentially. I don't know. That's crazy. I've never heard of that.
Inflamed or something. I could see that as a possibility.
That's pretty wild. But he is a full participant today. So
Good.
the only one that it looks like it's going to be is Ojolari on a pitch count.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles, on the other hand, do you think Jalen Hurts is fine? What are your thoughts?
I think they might be playing a little bit of possum. I think it's somewhere between, I think it's somewhere in between the fear that he's not 100% and him being 100%. I think he's adequate enough. We'll see pretty quickly. I think how much he's running around. If you see him kind of trying to be stationary in the pocket, that will tell me he's not 100%, and then that'll give me a nice smile that he can be contained. And because this offense isn't the same without him being himself.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
The Eagles are without. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying I think we're going to know pretty early. I think.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe we'll get to that when we get to the actual game thing. But real quick, leading into that, Avonte Maddox, their nickel corner, is I believe he's out, just completely ruled out already. That may be pretty big for us. But let's go into the. Do you want to tell me about what your thoughts are on the offense or defense first?
Let's start with offense.
Go ahead.
But I think this game is going to be won by offense. I think Daniel Jones was just about perfect last week, and the question is going to be: is he going to be perfect again this week with a much better defense he's playing against? I hope so. And this is not to say, well, if he fumbles or something, it's back to the same old with Daniel Jones. I just think we're going to have to play perfect football to beat this team on the road. It's going to be, a raucous crowd. We can't do the things that will hurt us. And I don't mean just turnovers. I mean, we can't have false starts. We can't have, untimely penalties. I think a lot of that's going to be on Daniel Jones. I think it's a lot of him just, being in command of this huddle and being command at the line of scrimmage, like we've seen the last couple of weeks. I think he's ready for this. I think the last week was a big, I've never seen a quarterback or much players ever get this 180 from guys that people hated to all of a sudden now people are saying, well, he should get 40 million next year, or he should be one of the highest paid quarterbacks. It's really, the one game is what got everybody excited about him. I think nationally, we know as Giant fans, and we know doing this show, we've seen the progression of him and the maturation of him in his game. Um, we're gonna have to play close to a perfect game on offense, and I think that means taking shots and being successful taking shots. We can't play defensive on offense. So it's a mindset that we're going to have to do that and also be successful and execute. That makes sense.
It actually makes perfect sense, and I think you're right about DJ. Do you sense? I mean, I know. I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a stupid question, but do you sense a feeling of swagger coming into this game from the Giants?
I feel more of a swagger from the fan base than I do the actual team. I think the team, we haven't heard anybody mouthing off. We haven't heard, it seems like it's been relatively low key. I think this fan base has an incredible amount of swagger. I mean, if our fan base was playing Philly right now, I think we'd win this game just on our, excitement level and just heightened expectation and, all of that.
Let me throw out some things maybe you didn't see. So, did you see like all the practice clips today of them just kind of like dancing to music and stuff like that? Very, very loose practice today, with Daniel Jones breaking down the huddle doing the gritty.
I did see that.
Well, okay, here's one other thing.
Yeah.
They issued a thing out to the players not to swap their jerseys as they cannot get more. So they need to hold on to their jerseys until the end of their playoff games.
That I saw as well.
Okay. Did you also see? Never mind. I'm not gonna do that. I wasn't sure if like the weird pizza order thing that the Giants did today was in response to Nick Sirianni as well.
He gets a fart for that, by the way.
For liking Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
there's a time and a place for Pizza Hut. It's not for pizza parties. If you, it is. I guess if you're in the middle of nowhere like Philadelphia.
Those to me, that's a team that's confident and it's a team that's enjoying the ride. I guess you can call it swagger, sure. I mean,
but you feel them rolling in like they know they can go in there and compete, right? Is that how it feels?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I think last week definitely solidified that. I think they felt, we said that this is the first time there's really a matchup between these two teams, and we kind of blew off that last game, but maybe there was something to having the backups playing the way they did, that it energized this team. I don't know, as a fan watching it, I didn't think anything of it, but something, these guys are a team, and whether you're Daniel Jones or you are the third string, punt returner, these guys all play for each other, and they all seem to like each other. We saw clips on the sideline of starters that were rooting for those guys, and maybe they took more out of that game, that they felt that they can play with Philly, even though we all know that wasn't really Philly versus the Giants. So maybe you take that confidence going into the playoffs, you go into another hostile environment like Minnesota, you play just about flawlessly, you win, you get the back page of the newspapers, you get the seats courtside at the Garden, you have a week where the national media is kissing your ass. Yeah, you're going to feel good about yourself. And I don't think there's anything, them not being tense, having fun during practice and getting ready. That's all great. I mean, there's no pressure on this team at all. Zero.
Sure. Yeah.
None. Nothing.
You didn't mention Saquon Barkley and Kenny Golladay getting their angry runs scepters, or Daniel Jones getting his slime time trophy or whatever the hell it was.
I mean, these are little things that you see teams making these runs, and there's a catchphrase that the fan base uses, or there's a
our
little
way. How do you feel about our way? I think
man,
it's dangerously close to a Burger King slogan is what I fucking think.
Let's not do that, because everybody, I don't know if you guys know or not, but commercials drive me insane. I got this, how some people, when my wife has this, who, by the way, will be my guest at the watch party Saturday, but she's got this thing, if you like, she can hear people eat, like the
Yeah.
chewing of your teeth, and it drives her insane.
I have one is people trying to finish every last morsel of a drink with a straw. That
Oh,
sound, I
yeah.
can hear it across a room. It makes me want to fucking break the glass over their head. Go
Well,
on.
what drives me absolutely insane in the membrane is commercials that I hear 3, 4, 6, 13 times a night watching a game. And if you guys, if you're Knicks fans and you watch games on the MSG Go app, like especially last year, it's not as bad this year, but they basically had 4 commercials they played at every timeout. And I would bounce off the friggin' walls. So when you say that Burger King commercial, I'm already having PTSD from watching last week. And it was pretty funny how we were all singing the song at the watch party, but don't mention commercials to me because that is the thing that just drives me nuts.
Um, so you did mention getting off of that subject. Sorry,
Thank you.
I didn't. I do think it is. Every time I read it, it's like I just want to put a Y in front of it and just be like, I can have it our way, I
But
guess.
let
But
me finish my point about that, though. Is my point is that when these teams, teams and or fan bases kind of latch onto something and it's a movement and it gets, it just builds excitement and it builds momentum and it builds confidence. And the biggest thing that this Giants team needs right now, not that they're lacking it, is just the confidence that they can beat Philly. They lost to them twice. They're the 1 seed. They're on the road. They might get batteries thrown at them. Confidence, self-confidence. We can beat these fuckers. And then if next week they get that far and they're going to play potentially another team they lost to twice in a row, hey, fuck you. We're feeling good about ourselves. We got momentum rolling. So, yeah, I like all of that stuff. Whatever works. That's my motto.
I'm with you. You brought up an interesting thing in there, and it made me think. I wish I were a little smarter with
We all
football
do,
stuff.
Grump.
Yeah, I
We all
know, but I think that no matter what happens with this game, it would be a really interesting exercise to see what kinds of coverages and plays were run in that first matchup, and then what sorts of weird things were being tested out between both teams in that second matchup that ended up being used and or worked or didn't work or was figured out or something in this matchup. I really think I didn't really think about it all that hard till you said that, but like I really wonder how much was poking and prodding on both sides of like, I wonder what happens if we do that. I didn't want to do this in a real game that mattered, but I really am curious, like, would this work? Doing this or putting this pressure on them, or how do they handle this? Uh,
there's 2 bits to that. I think it's the scheme and the play call, but it's also the players that execute it too. So, you can try something in a game like that week 18,
well,
but
especially with I would say, I agree with you. Defense. Wink Martindale is creative with personnel. So,
mhm.
like we were talking about Cordell Flott, putting him out there on AJ Brown is simply because he's a second teamer. But now, the way Fabian Moreau might have gotten abused on a play or two against AJ Brown in that first matchup, maybe you've seen enough where you're like, maybe this is our best matchup right here. Put Cordell Flott and his physicality on AJ Brown, and
or
may
or
use Fabian Moreau where there's a better matchup for him or something
or
like
you
that.
put in a rotation where that way, you're because Wink Martindale's defenses are as much about, mental chaos as they are physical chaos.
Yeah.
And, if you feel confident that maybe Cordell Flott might be a good matchup on Andy Brown, not have to put him on there for every play, but you have the confidence that kind of like a pitch count thing, like we're going to try 5 plays where he's going to cover it. And they're not expecting that potentially. And just having to think even for a second could throw off timing and patterns and things. So
Yeah, if memory serves, I'm gonna do more diving on this afterwards, and I don't know. Follow me on Twitter if I discover anything. Um, I'll post it before the game Saturday. But I'm if memory serves, Wink started throwing just like blitz after blitz after blitz in that second matchup with the backups at a
mhm.
certain point, and like I'm really curious to see what kinds of interesting stuff he threw that maybe worked really well that he doesn't usually run that we should be on the lookout for, maybe alignment wise or just something like that. I'm
Mhm.
interested to see what science experiments he ran in that game, because I seem to remember there being like 3 drives where he just fucking brought the house on every single play or something
Right,
like that.
right, right.
We were talking about offense though. I'm worried about Evan Neal. That first matchup, he looked like a disaster. I mean, like he was literally running in circles at one point, chasing I think Hassan Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do because that first matchup they didn't have Robert Quinn. Now they do. So
Well, it's always.
I'm pretty worried about that.
I'm worried too, but what's the alternative at this point? We're kind of he has
No,
to play through it.
I don't know what schematically you do to help him. I don't know that there's like a single guy in their rotation that's a matchup that favors Evan Neal, skill set wise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at best it's like Brandon Graham just because of age and whatever. But he's a pretty savvy, smart veteran player. I don't know, man.
Keep the tight end more and have him chip more off the edge, I guess.
I guess so. Run away from it. Do things to slow down the blitz, like screen passes. I don't know, man. I'm worried about being predictable against this defense too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think so. This is another funny thing about the podcast I was listening to. Factually, just stupid things being said. The evidence for how bad Minnesota's defense was, and why no credit should go to Daniel Jones or limited credit should go to Daniel Jones, is that Kirk Cousins played well. That's how bad Minnesota's defense was.
What does that even mean?
Exactly. That makes no fucking sense.
Do they know Kirk Cousins is a quarterback?
Yes,
Not a
exactly.
quarterback?
Their point is that Kirk Cousins played flawlessly and they still lost. That's how bad the defense is. But that is no correlation whatsoever. It's so fucking stupid. And they said, I don't think this is what he meant. I think he meant personnel-wise, they're a worse defense because that's factually correct. But he said it's an easier scheme. It's a bad scheme. It's literally Vic Fangio's scheme. Both of these defensive coordinators are Vic Fangio disciples. Ed Donatello, the Vikings, and Jonathan Gannon from the Eagles. It's a very similar scheme.
What was the Vikings' record at the end of the year?
Yeah. Good point.
I mean, still, at the end of the day, bad defenses, and it's not. This wasn't the offense of whoever they had, Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss, and way back in the '90s. I mean, it's a okay offense, but they still won. They were still a 2 seed.
Yeah, seriously.
So let's not get crazy about it.
Silly, but one of the things that they did do against that defense was they forced cornerbacks into coverages that they liked using motion and stuff like that. So if you have what you see pre-snap, that is a good favorable matchup, and this is probably where the Avonte Maddox injury comes into play. Exploit that shit. Force a matchup where Richie James has an advantage because that's probably your shiftiest guy, maybe Hodgins or something like that, but I like him more deeper, something like that. But and then make them adjust to have to stop James, and hopefully that frees somebody else up. But I think that's probably, or maybe putting Barkley in the slot or something like that. I don't know, but I think they should be fairly similar with this style of defense that they can exploit stuff.
I like having the 2 running backs in the backfield. It feels like there's more things you can do, and that can
Haven't I been saying that shit for like years?
Yeah, you have been.
So I don't know why more teams don't do that in general. Like I don't think you need, necessarily
a wide receiver out there,
or even a number 2 overall pick to do something like that. I think you could just have 2 shifty running backs, and that's good enough to trick things up. And there's, I think like that Deebo Samuel style player and thing kind of plays into that too, or sort of like a hybrid-y. And the way Atlanta was using Cordell Patterson. I don't know. Let's flip to defense. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you think.
I think we just do all we can to bring the house as much as we can against Jalen Hurts and let them prove to us that he can run the ball and he can be mobile. Because if he can't, with our pressure, I think we can cause, game-changing plays against him. But I would bring the house early and often and make them prove to us that, what is his actual ability. That ends all of are they playing possum? That ends all of this stuff. If we know right away what he is, if he's at 100% or he looks like he's 70% out there. I think that makes game planning for the rest of the game a lot easier. So that'd be my kind of first quarter goals is just, you know, besides the front four, I would do the most exotic page in the Wink Martindale playbook. I would start early and often and see how he can handle it.
I love it, man. I'm thinking more and more about what you were saying about
Like,
you know, just that second game and experimenting and stuff.
because again, I still feel like we have nothing to lose in this game.
Yeah.
You know, they're the one seed. They're the team that everybody sucked off all year. They're the team that, you know, Philly fans have booked their Super Bowl tickets already. We have nothing to lose. So to me, go down fighting and go down fighting. The best thing this defense does, and maybe the best overall unit on this team, is the pass rush. And go after that fucker. Even though if he's not 100%, how much has he really played in the last month? Now, at close to 100%. And he had a bye week last week. The week before was week 18, where he was just kind of getting the rust off. Then he was out for how many weeks? So he has not been in any sort of flow or any routine in quite a while yet. So, he might develop a rhythm as the game goes on, just shaking off rust. But early on, there might be some cobwebs. So I think you go after that fucker.
Yeah, man. I keep thinking back to what you were saying about doing experiments in that second matchup there. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. Give him looks you have never run before. Take something that you've shown before and do something different with it, and then run that right away. Seriously, the two things that this defense does well is confuse and pressure.
Hmm.
So do it right away. Confuse the shit out of them. Make
And
them
here's the other
make
thing
their
too.
whole game plan thrown in the garbage.
And let's think about that week 18 where we were experimenting under the guise of, well, these are just backups. So how seriously, if you're Philly, do you look at the game film from that second week and you just say, oh, they're just trying to survive with backups, or are we really disguising things that we want to try under the guise of backups in a meaningless game? So you might be able to, sneak something in that they have seen but they have taken seriously because of the conditions.
I also want you to I want them to make Hurts think twice about running. Like pressure him, hit him. He said this week that everybody's got a target on him, and I think what he meant is, he's the quarterback, and so
I don't think
every
he meant it in a way of like target him to hurt him. I don't think
right.
that.
I don't think that either.
Right.
But that being said, I don't want him to be okay with just running all over the field. I want him to be hit enough dropping back that he doesn't want to run.
There's two things we don't want. We don't want him back there like a statue all the time in the world who can throw and pick the defense apart. And we don't want him having easy designed running plays where he's knows exactly what he's going to do. We need to put him in a non-comfort zone, a feeling of distress.
And he is hurt. He is going to naturally protect himself.
Hmm.
So keep hitting him. Keep getting that pressure on. If he
Yeah.
it doesn't I mean it matters that he gets the ball out, but bury him. Put him on his ass every
If he has to,
time.
if he has to get rid of it before he wants to, the chances are it's not going to be as downfield as the play they want to do. The things will be kept in front of us. And, the big fear for me is an A.J. Brown. Oh, he just got loose behind the defense for 70 yards. They scored like that.
Yeah.
We had to minimize the easy scores, the quick plays, the special teams fuck ups, things like that, and make them earn their yardage.
Yeah, I wonder. This is going to be interesting to see if they do go heavy pressure, or if they go a lot more the the zone defense stuff that we've seen from Wink lately. That's prioritized coverage over pressure. I have to think that at least some percentage of that decision last week had to do with how bad and banged up the Vikings offensive line is,
Hmm.
and the thought that you can probably get sufficient pressure with only your front four, being that they're talented. I
Right.
do not think that same mentality would be brought to this game.
Yeah. I also think Wink Martindale's not a guy who's going to show you the same thing from week to week anyway.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Hit me with a prediction, man.
Prediction. Giants, Eagles. It's been a pretty interesting playoff rivalry the last 20 or so years. I mean, I was at that game in 2000 with the Jason Sehorn pick and everything. I remember in 2006 being on a plane about to take off for the national championship game where we lost in the last second on a field goal. Um, Nothing would make the Eagles happier than to beat us in the playoffs, where I think the Giant fan doesn't give a shit as much about Philly. We think of bigger and better things. The city of Philadelphia has an inferiority complex over the city of New York in everything, whether it's food, whether it's sports teams, whether it's, we're upper class and they're lower class, whatever it is, and they live to, you know, to beat us in anything. Will that happen this week? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know the Giant fan is extremely excited. I know they really, in a period of a month or so, have gone from thinking this team is, you know, they've outkicked their coverage. The record is maybe better than they really are, to thinking this team's got a shot in the playoffs. And now a lot of believers thinking this team might be the best team left in the NFC. And Daniel Jones all of a sudden is now getting into that rarefied air of quarterbacks. I really, 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 really want to win this game. I hate Philly. Grump and I have just talked before, was our biggest rival in the division, and I just don't think it's our time just yet. I think what's going to happen is we are going to battle him toe for toe. I think the biggest thing this team is going to win, and I think they've already got it, but I think they're going to get respect. You know, I think we're going to lose this game, but very close. I think it's going to be higher scoring. I think it's going to be more in the line. I think our offense is still going to work. I just think for some reason it Hurts is just healthy enough that he is going to. The storyline after the game is going to be like, this is why Jalen Hurts should be the MVP. And I think we're going to lose something like 28-24, but I think we come out of this game again with a lot of earned national respect from everybody and expectations super high for next year. I just think they all around have a better roster than we do, being at home. I think coming off that big win last week, it's hard to maintain that when you are the lesser talented team. I'm very, very proud of this team for where we are up to this point. I just don't think we're quite there just yet to, knocking off. If the Eagles aren't as elite as they were early in the season, they are still among the elite teams in this league. I don't think we're quite there just yet. I'd love to predict it. My gut tells me that we're just going to fall just a little short. So there's nothing wrong. I'm going to be very, very upset after that. I'm probably not going to want to talk to anybody for a day or so, but there's nothing wrong if we lose a close game. I would be very, very shocked if this team gets blown out like it was in the first meeting. I don't think that's going to happen, but I just think we're just a little short. But the gap is definitely narrowing. It's narrowed from a month and a half ago to now. I think this offseason will narrow the gap even further, but it's not quite there just yet.
I Man, I thought about this a lot, and it was. You said that you can't see them getting the shit kicked out of them. I could kind of see it.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because I don't know. I think it's just one of those games. This is a team that it could get out of control quickly, and all it takes is like a mistake or whatever. And if that's the case, then it is what it is. Whatever. I don't think that's going to happen, but I could see it. What I think is going to happen is this is going to be a really tight game, really tough. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be the highlight game of the weekend. And I think it's going to come down to a field goal. That is every Giant fan's like, I don't know. I guess from a playoff perspective, every Giant fan would be like, have positive memories of that, right?
1990,
that's
the Matt Barr kicked for us, and the kick, the Scott Norwood went against us. But also, like I said, we lost a last second field goal to Philly in the 2007 playoff game too.
8.
Was it 8 or was it 7?
No, 7. We won the Super Bowl.
I was going Then it was 2008. Yeah, I was on a plane going to a championship game, so it was, yeah, 2008. My
But
bad.
that
I'm
was,
getting
I
old,
mean, that
guys.
was also that was the season that Plaxico Burress shot his leg, and
Right, right, right.
whatever. But
I'm getting old, guys.
I,
Yeah.
I, I was thinking more along the line the kick at Green Bay, the kick at San Francisco, and then also Scott Norwood.
Mhm.
Whatever. But
More
my
often
my
than not,
point
we've had
is,
success with kicks. Yeah.
yeah. My point is, I guess I don't know. I think it's going to come down to a field goal, and my gut says it's going to be a heartbreaker for us. My heart says we are going to be jumping up and down and being like, how did we get here? I think this one ends even tighter than what you said, 24-23. I think it's a little lower scoring because I think I don't know. I think the defense is kind of figured. Well, I think they're a really tough defense, and I think we kind of figured out some of their stuff. And I think that Jalen Hurts. I don't know. We didn't get a chance to play them the first time. The backups played pretty well against the vanilla version. I feel pretty good about it. I think it's going to be tight and lower scoring. I'm going to just say Giants 24, Eagles 23 because I did my part this week.
Hey, listen, I hope to God you're right and I'm wrong.
Either way, I might have a heart attack before the ball goes through the uprights or misses or whatever happens. If it's that, because if we lose, it's understandable and I'll live, but I am going to be furious for about 48 hours. I'm going to be pissed for about a week, and I'm going to be mad about it for probably ever. But after that first week, I think I will come to grips with the fact that all of this was house money. It is insane that they competed in a divisional round against the number 1 seed, and it came down to what it came down to.
These are conversations and thoughts that we will have later on, because the last thing I need from anybody to tell me, either to my face or on Twitter or anywhere, is that you didn't expect to be this far anyway, so you should just enjoy it. Go fuck yourselves.
It's correct, but it's also that's a give me 7 days first.
Yeah, it's 100% correct, but we don't want to hear that right now. And when if that's the case, then we just watch and be like, oh, this is fun. Oh yeah, well, whatever.
That's like
we're gonna feel for 3 hours.
Catching your girlfriend cheating on you in the act, and immediately turning around and seeing someone like, well, time heals all wounds, man.
Yeah, you weren't gonna marry her anyway.
Thanks so much. I need that right this second.
Yeah, thanks, dear Abby.
All right, let's go around the rest of the weekend. Jacksonville at Kansas City. Is the Doug Peterson magic and Trevor Lawrence magic continuing?
Nope.
Don't think so either. Got anything special on that one or?
Nope.
All right.
I'm not really even thinking about the AFC right now.
Well, this one, the Cincinnati at Buffalo, I think is really interesting. Isn't that's the neutral site game, right?
Yes. No.
No.
I think it's only the neutral site would be if it's the AFC Championship game.
Right. That would be
in Atlanta.
Yeah. And I guess in that scenario, that's the AFC Championship no matter what?
I thought it was based upon if the seedings worked out that it would have to be like.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought too. I wasn't paying attention because I didn't care. But
yeah.
Cincinnati at Buffalo, I think that's interesting. Both teams struggled against interesting quarterbacks there.
Well, Cincinnati Buffalo, I mean, they started to play, and then obviously that game got canceled because of the injury. So it's going to be a weird thing having them back on the field again together. So, who knows what they're going to have before the game and stuff. It kind of, I don't think they'll have star movies or anything, but it's going to be a weird feeling of like, now we're finally playing each other. What do you think, Josh Allen? What's your take on him?
Well, he hurt his elbow this year.
Mm-hmm. Which not many people seem to talk about.
I feel like that's a really important factor.
Yeah.
I don't know why people wouldn't talk about that, but yeah, I think he hurt his elbow. I think he's good enough to play, but I mean, it's one of those things. There are times where there's just a season, and you're like, hey, Joe Schmo is not really playing that well.
Mm-hmm.
He's not on the injury report, nothing like that. And then you hear that they had like some clean out surgery in the off season. And they were playing with like a busted up ankle or something, and you had no idea, and you're like, oh, that's why they were playing that was a shitty left guard all year.
It feels like the over the top hype for Daniel Jones is equal to the over the top dumping on Josh Allen right now.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't think either is necessarily accurate in how much praise Jones is getting and the dumping that he's getting. Like he's yesterday's news.
Um, Also, he's throwing at Eli Apple. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that family's like insistence on living with feet in their mouths. Like, just shut up. You look so stupid being wrong all the time. Talk such a big game and like
Well, I don't need
it's
to get into any examples of very important figures in this country that just seem to make a living and get more publicity and attention and fall upwards from doing such things. So, you know,
speaking of
the
course of me.
yeah, of course, like it's in fame is intoxicating, and when you surround yourself with yes men and yes women and people that just won't tell you you're making mistakes and you get reactions from people and it gives you more clicks and gives you more followers and gets you on more shows and things and you have no self if you're shameless enough to have a thick skin for it, why would you stop? I mean, who the fuck cares about Eli Apple's mom? But, she gets attention and, it seems like we forget about her for 11 and a half months a year. But in the playoffs, Eli Apple's fucking mom is trending on my Twitter thing.
All right, so who wins this game?
I still think Buffalo wins.
So do I.
Yeah.
Dallas at San Francisco.
Woo! This is a fun one, too.
Spicy. I'm going to say San Francisco, but I think this is where we start seeing the Brock Purdy magic falter a little bit, the cracks in the armor there. But also, I think this is where we come away from this game with the Mike McCarthy conversation again.
Mike McCarthy's job was not saved because he played a 73-year-old Tom Brady who looked like me throwing left-handed.
He played as old as Lovie Smith looks.
Oh, God. I mean, he was awful. And I don't want to hear, I know they fired Byron Leftwich today. I know, and again, I get 23,000 text messages during every Buck game. I'm not even a Bucks fan, from my friends about how much they hate the coaches, how much they hate the team and everything. But you know something? I watched that game Monday night, and one thing stuck out to me is they cannot run the ball, and Tom Brady is washed. And there are reports of 3 teams interested in next year. Good luck, because he is done. He looked awful. He couldn't even, just complete basic pass. He looked like a bad college quarterback. Because, when you see, like when Florida plays some scrub and they come into the swamp and they have this quarterback who just is completely inaccurate and like, this guy can't even throw. That's what he looked like. But
so you think this is a San Francisco game?
I think this is a San Francisco game. I think that defense is playing really, really well, and I think Dak has another brutal game. I don't care what happened this past week. I think that Bucks team was done anyway. I think Purdy just is one of the great Jeff Hostetler game managing jobs he'll do in this game. And I just think they just have enough weapons to get the ball to that I think San Francisco wins.
I agree. I'm going to hit you with one more prediction.
Ooh.
I should have said this during the Giants thing. I might edit this in. I probably won't. But so the Giants have done a lot of things this year with this new regime, obviously, right? Like they ended their playoff drought. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones showed that he is a winner. The goalposts for grading Daniel Jones included, he can be a good deep ball passer, but he just doesn't win games. Okay, fine. He turns over too much. Okay, fine. That now he's doing that. He doesn't throw very well, or his passing stats are always like 110 yards. Okay, fine. He won a playoff game. Okay, fine. So Daniel Jones has passed a lot of the goalposts that were set out ahead of him that he needed to prove that he could do. I said that in a condescending way, and I shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. And they've also broken the curse of the boat trip. They won their divisional game. I predict that they break the curse of Boston Scott. And I'm not entirely sure what that means. I think maybe that means they shut him down in this game and he never has another good game against the Giants. Maybe, maybe he has a season-ending injury that I don't know. I think this is they will never hear the Boston Scott thing again. That stupid, weird story that people love to talk about. I think it finally ends this game, win or lose. That's my bold
Either that
prediction.
or he has 4 touchdowns.
Well, if he has 4 touchdowns, I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot more interesting and important things to talk about than him. Because I don't want them scoring 28 points in this game. All right, that's going to do it for us. We are going to be at the Talking Giants watch party again. It's at a different place this time in the Bronx. I don't know the name of it. Cranky.
Philly Sports Bar up in the Bronx, right across from Yankee Stadium. It's a big open space for any of you who are a supporter of NYCFC. That's where we had a lot of our early watch parties and pre-match meetups. So it's a big space, big bar, big TVs. So it'll be good. It's a more open layout than last week's watch party was.
So if you don't have tickets for that, get tickets for that. I don't know if it's sold out yet or not.
Yeah, support those guys because they are doing a lot of fantastic work this week. I know they had the entertainer was on there, lots of good breakdowns and stuff. So they're friends of ours. We can't thank them enough for their support of our show, and we want to support them as much as we can too.
Absolutely, and quite frankly, you should go just because it's fun. Even if you've never listened to Talking Giants, you don't know what we're talking about, you should just go because it was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun because, obviously they're all Giant fans there, but it's all a bunch of good guys and girls that were there. I mean, there was no dicks there. There was nobody that's,
Nobody was obnoxious. I mean,
nobody was.
We were all equally obnoxious.
Yeah, there's people that just, that was always been my goal for this show, and for all these shows is to make Giant fans the smartest fan base in the country.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we're smart to do that, but the more that you guys listen to great shows like Talking Giants and, Locked On Giants and hopefully the stuff that Grump talks about, you can be smarter than the average fan and not just be a dummy. And I think we had a group there that was watching that was a pretty educated, fan base. And that makes it so much more fun to, they've suffered. This is a fan base also that has suffered through a long time of badness too. So it was just an outpouring of relief that we're relevant and good again. So definitely go. If tickets are still available, check it out. And this is not like sitting next to the meatheads sitting next to you at MetLife who are just looking to get really wasted and act like an asshole and try to fight. These are good people, good Giant fans. We tailgate with these guys. We interact all the time on Twitter. And it was really fun. We met some new friends also, which was great. And hope to do that again on Saturday.
Yeah, it was awesome. We did meet some new people. Some people came up to us. I think I jumped on the show at one point.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a lot of fun, and you should go. In the meantime, you should follow us on Twitter at @football_grump, at the Cranky Fan. This show is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, wherever audio podcasts are, and of course on YouTube. So when you refer to a friend, be sure to tell them that. And we will see you all Saturday night. Until then, let's fucking go Giants.